The movie begins in a quiet town in the 1980s, where Emily, a babysitter, is caring for two children, Mark and his sister, Marina, at their home. Mark tells her that their father says a flesh-eating monster named Knois lives in their closet. Emily assumes it's just a child's imagination, but checks the closet, closes it, places a chair in front of it, and finds one of Mark's toys on it. She says nothing. She puts the siblings to sleep and goes downstairs to enjoy the TV while listening to music. But a little while later, when she sits down to rest, she suddenly finds the same toy sitting next to the TV, with the words, "You're pretty," written on it. Emily, thinking it must be Mark's prank, immediately goes to the children's room where Mark is still sleeping, but Marina is missing and the closet is open. Emily panics, locking the wardrobe again, placing the toy in front of it, and goes into the next room to look for Marina. But Marina hasn't done it either. Suddenly, someone has placed all the photos on the wall on the floor. The wardrobe opens again, revealing the toy on Mark's bed. Emily's fear increases. She goes to Marina again. But this time, someone has gagged Marina and placed a paper with "fever" written on it. Emily panics and checks her phone, but someone has cut the phone's wire. Suddenly, a videotape starts playing automatically on the TV, showing a scary masked man holding a paper with "Endeavor" written on it. Emily is terrified, and the same masked man comes up behind her, brutally murders her, and videotapes the entire incident. The story moves forward a few months, and a young woman named Dina returns to her hometown, where the entire town is immersed in Halloween preparations. Along the way, Dina meets her old schoolmates, Chats and Willis, who greet her with a slightly mischievous smile. After chatting with them for a while, Dina goes to Dina's medical store to get medicine for her father. Meanwhile, the town's sheriff, Arnold, suddenly finds a mysterious package in front of his house. Inside, he finds a remote control for the garage door of another house in town. The sheriff is a little surprised. Meanwhile, Dina visits her friend Heidi. They are delighted to meet each other. Heidi tells her that she has been assigned to babysit the sheriff's son tonight, and jokes that since his wife died, he's been lonely. So why don't she marry him and become Mrs. Arnold? A short while later, Dina arrives at her home. While her mother is happy to meet her, both her parents seem sad for some unknown reason. The sheriff, accompanied by one of his officers, arrives at the house with the remote, but it's for sale and no one lives there. They discover that this is the same house where Emily was murdered, and that the owner had reported that her Thunderbolt remote was missing after her murder. While they're discussing this, they receive another package at the station, but this time it contains a videotape with the words, "Night of the Reaper, the Camper." Playing the tape, they see the same masked killer murdering a camper in the woods, just as Emily was murdered. Sharif remembers that when they found the camper's body, everyone dismissed his death as a normal accident. Meanwhile, Dina's friend Hattie suddenly develops stomach pains, preventing her from going to her babysitting job. She requests Dina to go to Sharif's house and take care of his son. Dina agrees and sets off to babysit. Sheriff, along with his officers, set out to investigate the site of the camper's death again. On the way, they encounter Forest Services Officer Elizabeth, who is picking up the body of a dog that died in a road accident. The sheriff pauses briefly to ask for his help, then continues on with his officer. They arrive at the scene of the camper's murder. While investigating, they find another box containing a videotape. Upon arriving at the station, they watch the tape. It's written, "Night of the Reaper, the Babysitter," and it's the tape about Emily's murder. It clearly shows that the masked killer used a car remote to enter the house and brutally murder Emily. The sheriff is now convinced that all the deaths, which were thought to be normal, were actually the work of a serial killer. They also spot Chat's car in the video. Based on this clue, Sheriff interrogates Chat, who also enjoys recording videos, but Chat professes his innocence. Meanwhile, Dina arrives at the sheriff's house to babysit, and Knois chats with the sheriff's son, Max. The two quickly become friends. Bored with Max's games, Dina offers him sweets if he gives her a tour of the house. Max agrees and takes her to the basement, where Dina discovers Max's dead mother's wedding dress. Knois then brings her to his room, shows her a picture of his mother and reveals that she died in a car accident. He also shows Dina his walkie-talkie, using which they play hide-and-seek while talking. Meanwhile, the sheriff also calls home and speaks with Dina to check on his son's safety. A little while later, Dina and Max are watching a movie while eating popcorn. Max falls asleep while watching. Suddenly, Dina senses someone in the backyard. When she goes outside to check on noise, she sees a dead dog lying there. Suddenly, the door to the house starts shaking. Dina realizes something is wrong and immediately goes inside and closes the door. The sheriff also arrives at Chat's friend Willis's house to investigate further. They find another similar videotape there. An enraged sheriff arrests Willis and brings him to the station. When he watches the tape, he sees the same masked killer brutally killing his wife. Enraged, Sheriff Wiles tries to arrest him, mistaking him for the videotape killer. Meanwhile, Tina feels someone, noise, stalking her inside the house. She finds a window in the house broken, and inside, Dina discovers a crime board filled with photos of her sister, Emily. Panicked, Dina immediately runs to the police station to call for help. But when the killer follows Dina's voice and comes to kill her, noise, the story takes a major twist. Dina isn't there. Instead, she secretly attacks him, tricking him with a fake voice recording. When the killer regains consciousness, he finds himself tied up in a gag, and a videotape of his family's death is playing in front of him. But this time, the mask on the tape is none other than Dina herself, who is provoking the real killer by wearing a mask similar to the killer's. When the killer slowly removes his mask, his true face is revealed. It's none other than Forest Service Officer Elizabeth, who murdered Emily Knoyce, Camper, and Sharif's wife. Dina tells her, "I knew you were going to kill Max's babysitter Hattie today. That's why I drugged Hattie and made her sick. I came here in return. I sedated Max and delivered him safely to Hattie's house through Knox Willis so she could take care of Max." Elizabeth is shocked to hear this, frees herself from the chair, and sets out to find Dina. But inside the house, she finds several letters containing directions, similar to her own, that lead her to a walkie-talkie. Knox's Dina continues to tease her over the walkie-talkie, intent on murder. A frantic Elizabeth now searches for Dina outside the house, where Dina beckons her to a spot decorated with Halloween goslings. She sneaks up on Elizabeth in ghostly makeup and shoots her in the leg. The real secret is revealed. Dina is Emily's sister and has come to avenge her sister's murder. Just as she's about to pull the trigger, Chat suddenly appears from behind and attacks her, revealing that Chat was Elizabeth's partner. He was the one who recorded all the videotapes while Elizabeth brutally killed her victims. Together, they drag the unconscious Dina back inside the house, where Chat begins treating Elizabeth's leg wound. Dina tells Elizabeth, "I became suspicious of you when you came to my sister's funeral. I followed you, found your whereabouts, and planned to take revenge on you using your belongings." Suddenly, Vis's voice comes from Dina's walkie-talkie, and Chat realizes Vis is also involved in Dina's plan. He snatches the walkie-talkie from Dina and tries to contact the village, but it's also Dina's plan. Suddenly, the walkie-talkie explodes, killing Chat. Elizabeth is now alone, but she manages to tie Dina to a chair. She begins to mentally break her by showing her a video of her sister's final moments. Elizabeth now attempts to kill Dina, just like her sister, and begins to torture her by repeatedly stabbing her in the leg. But just as she's about to deliver the final blow to Dina, the sheriff arrives just in time. He shoots Elizabeth. Elizabeth tries to deceive the sheriff, claiming to be the victim and placing the entire blame on Dina. But as she raises a knife to stab the sheriff shoots her point blank, killing Elizabeth instantly. Dina reveals to the sheriff that she sent the tapes so they could learn the truth. The sheriff releases her. Dina requests that Elizabeth's death not be reported, as she didn't deserve to have her memory honored. So the sheriff hatches a plan. A few days later, the police will investigate Elizabeth's disappearance, find Chat's body in her home, which the sheriff himself will place there, leaving Elizabeth forever a terrifying murderer in history. In the end, Dina's sister Emily's funeral is held again, and Max is also safely returned to his father. Knois and the sheriff are forever grateful to Dina for helping them cope with their wife's death, and Dina finally finds peace by taking revenge on her sister's killer. The movie ends with this. We hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed Knois's story, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.